What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Life with Libby. This is episode 4. We've been doing this for a month. Y'all been hanging out with me for a month. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm super excited for today's episode because this was something that just kind of hit me. And the title of this, I have a little sticky note. The title of today's episode is Embrace the Breakdown. I had a pretty tough day today. It was really hard. Today was really hard. Today was probably the worst day I've had in a really long time. In my past episodes, I have talked about the timeline that you have for yourself, and then once your timeline is over, like when you're going through something hard, you set the timeline, you're doing the thing, you're going through the hard time, and then once the timeline is over, you get up, you get back up. And I feel like I'm always talking about the get up and the get going and the dust yourself off, girl, like keep going. But I want to talk about the breakdown. Living in the moment of being sad and allowing yourself to be sad. I think we live in a world where we feel like we always have to have our shit together, and I don't think we do. I talked about it last week about the highlight reel. I feel like we're always trying to put on a brave face for everybody else and for ourselves, and if we can just tough through it, that we'll come out the other end and it'll be great. But I think we need to live in the space of sadness and maybe not always try to push through right then. In my past, I've struggled with eating disorders. I was bulimic for a while. Actually, it's coming up here in November of 4 years ago. I was actually in the hospital for attempted suicide and severe bulimia. So eating disorders is something that I've struggled with for a really long time, and that part is kind of hard to talk about because that's not super fun to say, yeah, I used to eat and then make myself throw up. Like, that's not a super fun thing to admit, but that's how I used to cope with my stress. And yesterday morning, I woke up and I was dry heaving. I'm like, what? Why am I dry heaving? Like, that's enough, no thanks. And it didn't go on throughout the day. I was just like, oh, that's weird, whatever. And then today, I could not stop dry heaving. And I was just like, I know that this is super graphic and super gross, but I was just like dry heaving. And I couldn't stop. And then old habits took over. And I started the process of what I would when I used to make myself throw up. I started that. This is going to sound so crazy, but I would like strip down, like I would take my jacket, my t-shirt off. I would just sit there in the bathroom, hair up in a bun. I was ready to go. I was ready to puke my guts out. And I did that today. And right before I was getting ready to this is so graphic and I'm so sorry, y'all. This is so personal, but right before I was getting ready to make myself throw up, I said, I'm not that girl anymore. I'm not that girl who used to do that, because that's the only way that I knew how to cope with stress. But I wasn't planning on crying, but this is some hard shit. I hadn't dealt with my sadness yet. I think I had pretended like I dealt with it. And then me, today, my body, dry heaving and wanting to throw up, was like, hey, you haven't dealt with this yet. This is still buried inside you. And I'm glad that that's my body's response, because at the forefront in Libby land here, I am okay. I am happy. I know that this is God's plan for me, and this new journey is great, and the breakup is okay. But it's not okay. It's sad. It's really sad. What my life looks like now is not what I thought it was going to look like. And I need to deal with that. And I think sometimes we just put a brave face on and just keep going. But sometimes it's okay to sit there in the suck, in the thick of it, and be like, no, I'm not okay. and this is hard, and I'm struggling. We need to go through these emotions and these feelings for real. Not just saying like, oh yeah, I dealt with it. Like, no, really dig down deep in the trenches. Feel all the sadness, all the anger, all the hurt. Feel it all and deal with it. Because if you don't deal with it, you're gonna take that emotional baggage somewhere where it doesn't belong. For me today, that was to work. I took it to work. I took it to the office, and I couldn't stop. And then I finally realized, like, hey, I'm actually not okay. I gave myself that 2-week span, and I said time was up, but I didn't address any of the things that I was feeling. We get so caught up in the highlight reel of everything, of having to pretend like we are okay. And if we show that we're sad, we only show a little bit of our sadness to the ones around us because we don't want anybody to be involved in our sadness. We want to just sit there by ourselves. And that's fine, but sometimes you need to bring people in and say, hey, I need help, I'm struggling. For me, those people are the people at Steadfast. I don't know where I would be without the Schneider family, without Krista, without Sadie, without Kelsey, without Dr. Andrew, like without any of them. I don't know where I would be. Those are my people. And I think sometimes we think, well, I don't want to be a bother to anybody. I don't want to bother anybody with my problems. The people who care about you are not bothered. They're not bothered by you saying like, hey, like I'm going through some tough shit and I need some help. I need a pep talk. I need somebody to talk to. This is hard. I need somebody to listen. My life doesn't look like what I thought it was going to. And as a planner, I'm not having a good time with it. I'm not having fun. This is hard. I also think, and this was something that I realized today, you can be incredibly thankful. You can be incredibly thankful for the roadblocks that God gave you and the hurdles and the changes. You can be incredibly grateful for those and still not like them. You can be thankful that God saw the signs when you didn't, and that God has a bigger plan for you, and still be sad when things didn't go the way that you wanted them to. I think I just thought that because it is God's plan, and I know that better things are coming, I had to be happy about it. I'm not. This isn't what I thought. This isn't what I thought I wanted. And that's okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. And I know I just talked not that long ago about giving yourself a timeline and being sad and then get your ass up and get to it. And I meant that, and I still mean that. But in that 2-week period, or I don't know why I'm saying 2 weeks, I'm gonna need more time than that. I'm a tough cookie, but shit, this is hard. This is also a hard season. Fall's great, but fall's not my favorite, and that'll be a whole nother episode. But in that 2-week period, really, really be sad if you need to be sad. And somebody said to me the other day, I was crying, because I'm a crier, but like a real cry. And they were like, don't cry. I said, okay. But I think that's horseshit. If you are sad and you need to cry or be angry, cry it out. Ugly, cry that shit out. And if you need someone to sit with you on the bathroom floor while you are bawling your eyes out because life did not go how you thought it would be, call me. I'll probably cry with you. We'll get food after. It'll be great. So what I want you to take away from this, I realize that I've just had an emotional breakdown in front of you all, and that's a little embarrassing, but not really, because I'm human and I'm going through a hard life change, and that's okay. And I want to inspire all of you. If you're going through a hard life change too, it's okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to show others that you're sad and that you're angry and you don't have your shit together. I don't have my shit together. I wish that y'all could see the other side of this camera. There's still boxes everywhere. Everywhere, because I'm having a hard time unpacking. And that's okay. Embrace the suck. Embrace the breakdown. Deal with your shit. And really deal with it. Don't just say that you deal with it and then bring that emotional baggage somewhere where it doesn't belong. I'm glad that I had this emotional breakdown. I'm glad that my body showed up and said, hey, we're gonna dry heave today and hope to God that you realize that something's wrong and that you haven't dealt with your shit yet and that you pretend like you always have to have your shit together when you don't. You do not always have to have your shit together. And I encourage you to have a nasty, ugly cry, emotional breakdown, because I know that everybody's not going through a hard life change, but at the same time, everybody's going through a hard life change right now. This virus is not what we thought it would be, right? We said 2 weeks flatten the curve, and here we are 6 months later, and life is still chaotic. Everybody's struggling. If you need to have an ugly cry, please have an ugly cry and deal with it. Like I said, don't live there forever. I'm not going to live in this space forever, but I'm going to deal with it now. Because then, when my timeline, and 2 weeks is not my timeline, I'm going to think about my timeline, but then when it is there, then I really am ready. Because then I know that I have really sat down and figured out what was making me sad. What do I really miss? What are these things that I'm hurting, and how can I heal it before I take that wound somewhere else? So that's all I got for y'all today, is embrace the breakdown. Embrace the suck. Embrace the hard parts of life. You can be grateful that God put you on a path different than what you thought and still be sad about it. You can still trust Him. You can still trust God and still be sad at the same time because you don't see why He's doing it yet. And that's okay. So I hope that this reaches somebody. I hope that this just isn't me just crying for 13 minutes. But it was really on my heart to just share this with y'all. So I hope that y'all have a wonderful week, and I will see y'all next week. Yeah, bye y'all.